Hi everyone, my name is Patrick Akil, and today's episode is all about self worth, mindset, and breaking the salary sharing taboo. Joining me today is Tobi Oluwole, who's a co founder of Three Skills, sales lead over at Shopify, and a real entrepreneur. I'll put all of Toby's socials in the description below, and I hope you'll enjoy the episode. I really think it's a good one.
Beyond coding.
Yeah. So I think me and my girlfriend are looking into, well, right now we're just moving and living everywhere. But at some point we will buy something that is kind of steady, and then we'll still do the same thing, except we'll have kind of a home base in Amsterdam that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. Real estate is the ultimate cheat code.
Yeah.
But
Feels like that.
yeah, I mean, just playing the game. Hopefully, I can retire soon. I played the lottery yesterday. I didn't win, but hopefully,
Yeah,
but,
you do gotta play if you want to win. Makes sense.
yeah,
But cool. You said your wife both work at Shopify currently?
yeah. We both work here. So my wife, she went to school for nursing,
Hmm.
so she studied nursing. And then she started working as a nurse, and there was like a couple incidents where obviously they here in Canada they work like 12-hour shifts, 4 days a week, 5 days off, or 5 days a week, 4 days off, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and you're working till 2 a.m. You're tired. You're eating at 2 a.m. And she just started to realize like the lifestyle wasn't there, and she wanted to make more money, but all she did was nursing. So
Yeah.
one day she has like a massive scare. She's administering a needle to like a patient in their arm, and the needle goes, it was 2 a.m. The needle goes into the arm, comes out of the arm into her finger.
Oh no.
And that's like the biggest scare for a nurse. So she's in the hospital for 24 hours doing every test in the book, hepatitis, everything, comes back clean. But the anxiety that it caused
The unknown.
was
Yeah.
insane, right? So I sat her down. I was like, listen, you don't have to be a nurse. She's like, but I studied nursing. I'm like, yes, but that you also know that I have a company where I created it because people think they have to do what they studied.
Yeah.
Like, you are not a nurse. You are a human being that studied nursing. But
Exactly.
most importantly, you're a human being that can learn anything. So then I started connecting her with people. So I connected her with my friend who was a branch manager at Scotiabank. His wife is my co-founder at Three Skills.
Yeah.
So she got into Scotiabank. Obviously, a nurse in banking, the level of care was insane. So she was getting 5-star reviews, even though she never asked. She forgot to ask,
Yeah.
because you're supposed to ask in every interaction, please give me a 5-star rating. And she forgot to ask, but she had the highest rating in the bank. So she got promoted after 3 months, and
Really
gets
cool.
into a new role. And then I'm like, okay, you're moving. So I introduce her to another person at Uber. So she gets a job at Uber. Again, really good ratings. And then Uber has the big layoffs, 2020 layoffs, during the pandemic. So she takes a couple months, tries to figure out like, okay, where to next. We buy the house while she's laid off. Um, and then, I connect her to our friend who's a realtor. She works there as an operations manager. After a while, she's like, okay, we closed on the house. She didn't like the job. I was like, you can quit. We got the equity.
Yeah.
So she quits. We go to Mexico for a week, celebrate, come back. And then I'm like, hey, you got to get, maybe like a tech sales job. So she now takes all this experience, rolls it into tech sales at a company called Hopin, where they do like virtual events. And so she did that for 5 months. And then I got a promotion at Shopify to a team lead role.
Hmm.
And what happened was we had to hire like 70 reps in like 6 months.
Oh wow.
But when I started, they had named the actual role incorrectly, so people didn't know it was a sales role, and they
Okay.
didn't know it was paying like $90,000.
Yeah.
But I knew, so I told my wife, I was like, "Hey, you should apply for this role." And so she did. I cleared it with my boss, and she's a great sales rep. She's a nurse, or someone that was a nurse
Yeah.
now selling. Right, the level of empathy is through
Yeah.
the
Off the
roof.
charts. Exactly.
So she gets hired on the spot, gets the job. So now we both work at Shopify.
Yeah. I love that story. It's step by step and taking it slowly and actually
Yeah.
not looking at what you've done in your past and what you've studied, but the
Yeah,
skills that you cultivate, right? Those translate and just make you a better human being. And you don't
exactly.
lose that.
No, you never lose that.
Yeah.
It's in your blood. Like it's something that you don't even have to pretend to be, right? Like she used to get in trouble as a nurse for spending too much time with patients.
Yeah.
I'm like, in sales we call that salescraft.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so we just got to get you in the right place. And now she's making more in her base salary than she ever would as a nurse after 10 years experience,
Yeah.
like, so it's it's also important. Like, one of my biggest missions is like, I need people to make the maximum that they can make in any given environment.
Yeah.
Like, if you are just starting as a new grad, you should be making the maximum you can make in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, if you're 5 years in, 10 years in, right, big company, small company, it's like, I really don't care. You should be making the maximum so that you can actually build a life that you want, instead of working till you're 65 for, retirement and a pension.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine that when you tell people that what they think they deserve is probably a lot lower than what they actually deserve, seeing their
Well,
skills or
100%.
seeing their past experience. There's a
Yeah.
huge mismatch there. And I don't know where it comes from. I think there's a lack of transparency, and that's the main factor.
Well, yeah, things that are secret can be hidden better, right? Like, so, companies don't share pay bands on purpose,
Yeah.
right? If you don't know, you can't ask. So I did a poll on my Instagram once, and I said, what is the maximum you believe you can be making right now with your current skill level?
Hmm.
And the answers were horrendous.
Really?
And people are like 50K. And I knew these people. They're all my Instagram friends,
Yeah.
right? So I knew some of them for as long as 10, 20 years. So there's like 50K, 70K. And so at some point I was like, okay, I'm going to start replying everybody. I started replying everyone. And I'm going, knowing what I know about you and the current market, if, let's say they said 70K,
Yeah.
like, you're worth about 120, right? This one guy was like,
Damn.
uh, 90K. I was like, mm, no, like, I've literally worked with you. You're worth closer to like 180K.
Damn.
And
That is
he was
a
like,
huge gap.
what? And
Yeah.
so literally 2 months later, he sends me a message. He's like, you won't believe this. I'm like, I probably won't. And he goes, I just got a director of e-commerce role for $180,000.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was kidding. No, I wasn't kidding. But but it was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
that's not a lifestyle change,
No.
right? That is generational, right? Like, 80, 70K. He was at 70 or 80K to
Yeah.
now like 150, 160. Just the base salary. Like, you haven't just changed your life. Like, you can set your family up,
Yeah.
like, for good, right? Like, a few good decisions and you are set. Your kids are set, right? So, seeing that lifestyle change was good. I probably got like 100 responses, and I was just telling people there's nobody that replied to me that I didn't say you can make more.
Yeah.
I literally, like, there was one guy's like 340K. I was like, you can get to 400.
Still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, because I knew him. I'm like, the thing is, whatever your maximum is in your head can't be your maximum, because as long as we're humans, we will always be our biggest critics.
Yeah.
You are your biggest critic. So if you throw a number out, even in optimism, you're probably still wrong,
Yeah. I like
right?
the way you
Like,
put that.
so now a stranger can come and be like, I thought I was worth 80K until this one company was like, we'll pay you 150K.
Okay.
It's like,
What?
I'm worth
Yeah, exactly.
$150,000. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So that changed my perspective. I was like, if I'm worth $150,000, I should probably go make that. You
Yeah.
know, um, so it's just breaking people. Like, half of my job, if not more, is just breaking people out of their own limiting beliefs. It's like, if I can tell you, so I'm coaching a guy. He's director of something at a bank, and we're going through, and one of the roles he starts to interview for, let's say he's making like 120 to 150 at the bank.
Yeah.
We go through the coaching sessions. I'm like, helping him tell his story better and all that stuff. And I'm like, you're worth closer to like 200, 250 in my eyes,
Mm.
right? Like based off what I know about you. First offer that he gets, um, or first role that he gets to the final stages
Yeah.
for the offer, I should say, the total comp for that role was 550.
Wow. Okay.
I was
Not even
like,
close. Yeah.
okay, wow. Like I didn't even know what the maximum he could make was, right? But you put yourself in the right environments, right? Because things are of different value in different environments, right?
Yeah.
Water, you know, when you're in your kitchen, right? Water is free, right? You go to a restaurant, water is €1, right?
Mm.
Like you go to the airport, water is €4, right? Why? You can't get water anywhere else, right? You got to go to the right.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in the desert, you haven't had water for 30 days. Someone walks by, you got $300. Water is today $300,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? And so it's understanding like, okay, where are your skills the most valuable in the market right now?
Okay.
Eh, and that's where you go get your money.
Yeah. I haven't looked at it like that. I have thought so. I'm going to get personal, and obviously this podcast is sponsored by my company, but I can be completely transparent. I've talked to my managers and I've said in the past, listen, events have happened and I have looked outside. I've always kept looking for opportunity and seeing what my market value is, right? But the
Yeah.
thing that is always in my head is I like my job. I like what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I
Yeah.
don't want to change. Yet the only
Yes.
way I could make more money is if I switch. And then even I can come back and come in with a higher base salary
Yep.
because everything is percentages. And I've
Yeah.
told them this model does not scale. This is how you're going to lose the best people that you have.
Of
Because if that's
course.
the playing field, people will play that playing field to the best of their personal gain, which
Yeah.
is just the system is so broken, in my opinion.
Yeah. It was just set up. I can't understand why things were set up the way they were, but I guess what I try to explain to people is, you know, you got to play the game,
Yeah.
right? Like if the company's playing the game, you got to play the game, right? And if you can't play that game, then you got to find the other way, right? So for me, there's a couple people I've helped within our company go into new roles
Mm.
that pay them like 40, 50% more,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't do it in the same role because budgets don't work like that, right? Like the budget for you this year can't go up 50% in this role.
Yeah.
It can go up 3 to 10%.
Exactly.
10% you need like civic six approvals, um, but if you go into somebody else's org within the same company and they have X budget, right, you can actually get like a 40, 50% raise. I got
Yeah.
a 73% raise for this new role. And she was like, I had to get two approvals. And when she told me, I was like, I trust you to get the approvals.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but in those cases, like they're a bit rare, but they're possible. But I just don't understand why companies don't pay to keep talent because it costs so much money to lose talent.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny because companies always say it's so much easier to keep a customer than to get a new customer.
Yeah. What about your own people? Yeah.
Yeah, what about your employees, right? Like
Exactly.
it's easier to keep your employees.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure it out, but um, I mean, there's companies, Microsoft, Airbnb, right? They're going, you know what? We're going to raise people's salaries. We're
We're
going to
going to
pay
be
you whatever.
transparent. Yeah.
We're going to be transparent, right? I think at Slack, even at Stripe, like it's public. It's
Hmm.
public within the company what each level makes, what the range is for each level,
Yeah.
right? So
Why not?
like, okay, if I'm going for this level, this is what I should expect. But I think a lot of companies, part of keeping people in the dark
Mm.
is knowing that like people can't like. So think about the people that replied to my Instagram story. People can't ask for more
Mm.
if they don't know that more exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Like, so you keep your budgets tight. You don't talk about salary. You make, all these crazy like non competes and NDAs and all this stuff. Don't talk about your salary. Don't talk about your salary. I made more money by talking about my salary, right?
Exactly.
Like, so there's no way I'm not talking about it ever again. Like I tell people that don't expect to hear my salary, I tell them, and I'm like, if this can happen for me, this can happen for you. And now all of a sudden, I see their eyes light up.
Yeah,
Right.
because
So I
that's
got a text
powerful.
from a girl within the company. She was making 70K. She calls me or sends me a message a month ago. She's like, "You won't believe this. I went from 70 to 115.
Yeah,
Like that is life changing.
exactly. That is a huge bump. Like those
Huge
bumps,
bump.
they shouldn't be normal. We should already be at that level, right?
Yeah.
But I
But it's
mean,
like,
I talk to a lot of people coming out of university, and they're like, okay, in a few years, sure, they always give themselves a few years to get to that level, but they could already be there, right? And in a few years, they
yeah.
could be better. Um,
Yep.
a lot of organizations just hire a lot of people very cheap, let them kind of float. And then what they do see is pain points and they do see people complaining, yet not a lot changes, right? And then they think, okay, in my organization, this is just how it works. Or in other or
Yeah.
in every organization, the organizations I want to be in, this is the name of the game. And then
Yeah.
they stretch that time frame. They stretch it to a few years, to 5 years, to 10 years. And all of a sudden you look back and you're like, I'm still kind of within that range that I expected, which is
Yeah.
because you expected that.
Exactly. And like our minds are our greatest assets, but they're also our greatest enemies.
Yeah.
Like if you like, there's my favorite saying is, wherever there's a rule, I can be the exception.
Mm.
Right. And I teach that to all my students. They go, nobody's ever done it before. I'm like,
Yeah.
amazing.
I really like that.
You get to be the first one.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't know anyone that's gotten a 73% increase. Amazing. I'll do it.
Yeah. Set the stage.
All right. You set the stage. It's like, if there's a rule, someone has to break, like what was it, the 4 meter or 4 minute mile or whatever it was.
Hmm.
Right. Everyone's like, impossible,
Yeah.
impossible, can't be done, impossible. Right. Flying a freaking plane in the air, like, no,
Yeah.
can't be
No
done.
one could do
we
it.
gotta we gotta walk, like someone goes, there has to be an exception. Right. And once the crazy person finds the exception, now it becomes the standard.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
So now that's all we do. Is like, the reason our company exists is because we found exceptions and taught those exceptions to people, and now those are becoming the standards for the 300 people we've helped transition careers. Right. That's 300 families, 300 lives, right? 300
Yeah.
generations, right? That now are making more money. And you can actually just like look back and go, well, how did this start? Well, one person found an exception.
Exactly.
Right. So I think that's been like a big thing for me. Even with the house that we bought, we weren't supposed to buy the house. My wife had just been laid off, so we didn't have double income. We needed
Mm.
double income. I had just started my Shopify job, um, and we didn't have the money. We had about half of the money that we
Yeah.
needed to be able to buy a house. But then I found that you can buy a new construction house. It would be ready in a year or so, and you only had to put down 5% on a payment plan over 5 months. I
Okay.
was like, amazing.
Yeah. Like a little
That's
loophole.
what we're gonna do. And I came home. I told my wife, I'm like, we're buying a house. She's like, how? I'm literally jobless. I'm like, I know. Here's the plan.
Yeah.
And I told her the plan. I was like, here's how we're gonna buy a house. And I called my friend. I called like my mortgage broker. I was like, listen, we can find a way. And then I almost gave up. And then my mortgage broker's like, no, 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 I got you. Here's a way. Here's a way we can do it. And I found the exception. We put the money down, and we made 10 times more than we put down
Yeah.
in a year and a half.
That is
And if
ridiculous.
that is not a good enough reason to look for exceptions, I don't know what is. I made more from my house than me and my wife did combined.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's like, that's why it's important to ask the question, how can we do this?
Yeah.
How can we do this? Not, this can't be done. It's like, how can it be done? And now
Exactly.
your brain goes into problem solving mode. Right. So that's just something that we hope that people just like ingrain, because it takes one moment for your whole life to change. Like
Yeah.
one new salary bump, everything is different.
Yeah. What I love is that I think this mindset or this realization is setting in with more and more people and
Yeah.
therefore more and more organizations as well, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons I found you on LinkedIn is because one of my friends hit me up and was like, this guy is talking a lot of sense, right? Even in this conversation, it's very inspirational. And it shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
It's a weird thing that this is inspirational. We say, okay, money is not important. Obviously, it is important. It plays a crucial role in your wealth and as well as your family's wealth. But because we come from a certain background, that's always how I've seen it. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I am supposed to be in this kind of category. This is what is expected of me. Even though I'm the first of my family to graduate at a university, I kind
Yeah.
of could see myself within these things. And then I'm content with that, right? But every
Mhm.
conversation I've had with either colleagues or with people I've worked in the past made me realize, okay, this is not the ceiling. If I have that
Mhm.
conversation, right, the conversation with my manager, conversation with a different job, it is not an easy conversation. And sometimes it's not even comfortable, but it is a very important conversation. So the more you have
100%.
those conversations, the more comfortable you're going to be in those. And the better you're going to get at that as well. And all of a sudden, you bump the ceiling. And if I understood you correctly, it can be multiple tens of percentages. And then you're like, man, I could never dream of that, which is crazy.
Yeah. Like I couldn't dream of what I currently make.
Yeah,
Like if someone called me 2 years ago and you can make this amount, I'd be like, you're lying.
exactly. Yeah.
But what happened was I met a guy when I was 20, I was just graduating, and his first year, he had, when he first was working, he was making 38 or $39,000.
Mm.
He joined a new company that first year. I think he made it was like 60 or $70,000, um, and then like maybe $80,000. But then something incredible started to happen. So he goes 80,000 to like 110,000 to 250,000 to 300,000 to 500,000. I
Yeah.
was like,
What?
what? You're right. So it's like you can do that.
Yeah.
That's all I. As soon as I say, like my wife knows this. As soon as I come home and I go, you can do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna do something, right? Like, uh, because as soon as I know it's possible,
Yeah.
everything changes, right? Like
Exactly.
that's all that we need as human beings. That's why we've come so far,
Yeah.
right? You see a company become a unicorn in 2 years, people go, you can do it in 2 years.
Yeah.
Now you see a unicorn become a company, or a company become a unicorn in a year, right? It happens all the time. As human beings, all we got to know is it's possible. As soon as, was it Roger Bannister or whoever it was, broke the 4 minute mile,
Yeah.
like 18 people broke it like right after. They were like, it's possible,
Yeah.
right? So to me, once it's possible, that's when I go, okay, I can do it.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need anything else. I don't need data. I don't need science. I don't need, a lot of people need like, okay, what is the probability that I can do it? And what percentage of people can do it if I do it?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need any of that. I need one story. I'll
Yeah.
do it.
There you get it.
Right. So, and that's like, I think that's how we got this far. It's like, people always ask me like, well, how many people have done it? It's like,
Mm.
I don't care. One
Yeah.
guy did it. Right.
Yeah.
That's
It's
it. That's
because
all you need to know.
people think I also had that same thought, right? I mean, looking back, I have a podcast that has about 60 episodes. A year ago, 10 years ago, I would have never dreamed that. I always listened to podcasts. I never thought I could do that. But
Yeah.
it only takes one step. Yet people don't
Yeah.
take that first step, right? That's the difficulty. They're like, a lot of people are doing it. It's not for me. I'm not that lucky. I could never be that person. Yet the only thing they need to do is try, take that first step, and probably be consistent with it. Because at some point you will get what you deserve.
100%. And I think the fear of taking that first step is what keeps so many people, right, like
Yeah. And I get
just
it.
like trapped. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
get it too.
completely get it.
Yeah, there was a time I was going to go and negotiate my salary, and I looked on Google. It said, you can get 3 to 5% increase. So
Yeah.
I was making 50K. I was going to go ask for 54 or $53,000.
Yeah.
That was my big revelation. Okay.
Exactly.
And just before I was going, I went to talk to my friend who started on the same day as me. I'm like, hey, it's been our 1 year. We're gonna obviously like ask for salary
Yep.
increases. I'm like, I'm gonna ask for 3 to 5%, right? Because that's what Google says. He goes, I'm asking for a 50% increase. I was like, sorry, what?
Yeah.
And he goes, yep, I'm asking for 75K and I want stocks. And I was like, what? I'm so stupid.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I go back. I'm like, I go into the meeting. I'm like, I want $73,000 because I knew he was going to ask for 75. I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't want him to
Still
think we
be.
had talked.
Exactly.
Um, and they gave me 60,000. So I got a 20% increase instead of 3%,
Yeah, and you were gonna ask
just
for
by
like six.
asking. Like, if I had asked for 54, they'd gladly
Yeah,
give me 54 or 53, right? But I got a 20% increase
exactly.
because I spoke to somebody and they expanded my mind and went, "This is how much we've brought in. This is what we've done. This is what we've accomplished in a year." And I was like, "You're absolutely right."
Yeah,
Right.
and
So,
it's not fair like that, right? I don't think the
yeah,
world is fair, but you do need to kind of take control of your destiny in a way. It is your life. It is also your future. So have those
yeah,
conversations, right? Break that taboo, because I mean,
yeah.
in Holland, it's very much taboo to talk about salary. I do it.
Oh, yeah,
I ask it, and I'm like, if you're
yeah,
not comfortable with it, don't tell me.
yeah,
This is my deal, and we have that conversation, right? Because the only one that gets better of it is yourself and the people that you talk about, right? Breaking that taboo and making it transparent removes the power that is there, removes the inequality that is absolutely there,
yeah,
either within an organizations or cross organizations. And that's the only way to get out of this gap, because having that gap between kind of what you're supposed to earn and what you think you should earn, it's way too big. It is
yeah,
ridiculous that it is that big.
yeah. I think every major revolution that has happened in history started with two people talking.
Exactly.
Right? You look
As
at the
simple
French
as that.
Revolution, you look at anything where the power structures had to like fall down for people to have better lives.
Yeah.
There's two people going like, "I'm not okay with this,"
Hmm.
and then talking about it. So what I do is I tell people my salary first, and then they go, "Whoa, that's shocking,"
Yeah.
and then they inevitably tell me theirs. So I probably know 40 or 50 people's salaries, and I also know that like 200 people's salaries from the people we helped. So when someone goes like, "Oh, I'm trying to go into this role," I'm like, "You can make 200K in that." Like, well, how do you know? I know one guy that does that
Yeah.
has about the same experience as you, right? So but everything that starts or that actually reshapes power structures and gives people more equality starts with two people talking and going, "Hey, we should probably do something about this,"
Yeah.
right? And now you have like a whole movement, right?
Exactly.
So I'm glad it's happening, honestly. Like, I've always been happy with my salary. Like, I've been very, 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 very fortunate though, right? And I appreciate and I thank all of my previous bosses. So I actually have no complaints. Like, I've never complained about like even Shopify.
Mm.
Like, I love my salary here. I love my job here, but I know that I'm fortunate, right? And for people less fortunate or not as you know lucky to be in great companies, I want them to be just to feel as fortunate as I do, right? I
Yeah.
want them to be as happy as I am when I see my paycheck. I want them to be as happy as I am when I'm, logging in the morning. And that's not a common thing. So we'll keep fighting to get people that kind of work environment because I know it
Yeah.
exists.
It's sad, right? That that's not a common thing. That people don't wake
Yeah,
up happy within their job. They're either there's an imbalance in what they earn and what they're doing. Either they love what they're doing, but they don't think they're earning enough, or they're content and they don't know what's out there. Or it's the other way around. They're earning a lot, yet what they're doing, they're absolutely not passionate about.
yeah,
It's weird that that's a discrepancy, right? It should be the balance in between.
yeah. I think as humans we weren't created to work as much as we do.
Hmm.
That's like the fundamental problem is if you go back about a million years,
Yeah.
we were gathering, we were moving around, we were sharing everything.
Yeah.
There was no like
It was on
nine
an
to
as
five.
need basis, right?
Yeah, like you could live and stay on the beach for 3 months if you wanted to, and
Yeah.
do whatever you want, right? It was in the past, like what, maybe 10,000 years, right? Like things started to really pick up, and everyone started to really work, and then in the past, like maybe 200-300 years, where it went really crazy, right? But I think some people like finding that some people call it ikigai. I call it fulfillment and purpose in your work
Yeah.
is very hard because work wasn't created for us. It was created for companies to solve problems, right? And for capitalism to move forward. It wasn't created for the happiness. Like, we are business transactions on a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
literally, every employee is OPEX, CAPEX, right? Like it's part of, HR budget, right?
Yeah.
We're built, it's for the longest time, what was it called? Human resources,
Yeah.
right? Like just like any other resource, right?
It was
So
called what it actually is. Yeah.
it was called what it is,
Yeah.
right? Like, and we make the mistake of going, they should care. It's like, no, you are a line on a budget sheet. And
Yeah.
so now what you need to do is make yourself a priority, right? And you have the relationship with your company that your company has with you.
Yeah.
This is a transaction.
Exactly.
Fundamentally, this is not mom and dad sending you money because they love you, right?
Yeah.
Like you come in, you give me work, I pay you every 2 weeks, every month, right? And so you must put yourself first
Yeah.
because they put themselves first. If there's, we saw it happening. Coinbase was doing all these layoffs
Yeah.
in May. The Coinbase executives had sold off $1.2 billion in stocks to fund their. I mean, the CEO of Coinbase bought $100 million house,
Exactly.
right? The layoffs were coming.
Yep.
A month later, not even.
Yeah. Everyone's gone.
People are getting laid off.
Yep.
18% laid off. Hundreds of offers rescinded. Well, guess what? He took care of himself.
Yeah.
Now, it's not right in my eyes. Okay. And I speak from my own opinions only.
Mhm.
But that's what happens. The,
Yeah.
the problem is if you have unrealistic expectations of companies, you will be let down. I understand this transaction
Yeah.
fundamentally, right? So when I wake up in the morning, I understand that at any point, Shopify can come and say, we no longer need this business unit. And I understand that at any point, my paycheck can be gone.
Yeah.
Now, we pray that things like that don't
It
happen,
doesn't
but I've had it
happen.
happen, right? Twice already in my very short 6-year career. My first job,
Yeah.
our boss walks in and goes, "We are out of money. You're all laid off." My second job, 6 months in, my CEO goes, "We're building a brand new team. You're fired." Right? I was
Okay.
like, "Okay, amazing." Like this is the things that can happen, and guess what? You are replaced within a week.
Yeah.
So I just this week I was telling my team, here's what is not going to be written on your tombstone when you die. Number one, sales rep. Won't be written anywhere.
No.
So you got to understand that it is more important that you play your role as a son, a father, a brother, a friend, right? A sister, a daughter, right? Like those are more important parts of your identity than this job is because you can be replaced at work. You cannot be replaced at home. But what you need to do is build the transaction in your favor. That
Exactly.
is all you need to do. If you can make 150K instead of 75K today, you love your boss, you love your whatever, you're making 75K, you say, "Hey boss, I love you, but I'm going to make 150K over there. Let's
Yeah.
go for dinner once a month. Keep the relationship, take the money." Right? But you don't have to sacrifice, right? Like it is a transaction. You will be replaced within a week.
Yeah. But man, it sounds harsh, right? And it's a
Yeah, I
harsh
mean,
truth. It is how
it's
it is. That
it
is the
is
name of the game.
yeah,
Exactly. Right?
one of the biggest things that I learned was once you accept things for what they are,
Mm.
it is so much easier to live life. My wife is asking me every day, "Toby, why are you always so happy?" I'm like, "I've accepted the
Simple.
world for what it is."
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We are in a climate crisis.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Am I going to call the sun and be like, "Hey, let's calm it down"? Like we the oil companies have polluted, the ozone layer is gone, the water levels are rising. What am I going to do? I
Yeah.
can't do anything, right? Like, okay, I want to make more money. The company doesn't care about me, right? I know who loves me. I know who's going to be at my funeral, right? Like I wrote my own eulogy 4 years ago and I
Yeah.
went, this is what I want to be said at the end of my life. And then I started working backwards from there.
Yeah.
I've accepted everything. I've accepted that I'm very disorganized. I've accepted that I'm a visionary, but I'm stuck with details. I've accepted all of these things. And so when I wake up in the morning, I'm elated.
Yeah.
We're going to go through another day, right? I've accepted that bad things happen in life, not because people are bad, but because bad things happen.
Yeah.
Just like
Exactly.
the sun rises and the sun sets, bad things happen in life, right?
Yeah.
Assholes exist. Right? I've accepted that one too. Right? I had a mentor that used to say there's only 4 or 5 real big assholes in the world, but
Yeah,
they just get around a lot.
exactly.
Right?
That's hilarious. That
You
one.
know, and so I'm like, okay, I run into an asshole. I'm like, you must be one of the four. You know, like,
I love that one.
you
Yeah,
know, so you change your perspective, and now your whole philosophy, your life is a everything's a miracle to me.
yeah.
Right? I get called for
It's
a
very
podcast, it's a
powerful.
miracle. Right?
Yeah,
I Someone asked me to come speak in Orlando. I was like, this is a miracle. I just got my first 2 brand deals.
yeah.
Wow,
Really cool.
what a
Yeah,
miracle!
but it's powerful, right? Because nothing changed. It's just your mindset and your perspective, right? That's the only thing that changed. Not
Yeah,
fixating on the things you cannot control. That's how you get a burnout. That's how you get depressed. That's how your mind shifts towards not what it's supposed to shift, but
yeah,
focusing on what you can control, right? And
yeah.
acting on that, taking that first step, taking that risk. Because sure, sometimes you need risk if you want a great reward. It needs a little
Of
risk in
course.
there as well, right? It doesn't have to be safe, but you are in control. If you accept that, I think that just clears up your mind a lot.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
And I think more people just need to accept, like, you control the things you can control and everything else you accept. Right?
exactly.
Like, so for me, okay, I'm I was born Nigerian. I had a Nigerian passport. I was sent to Canada against my will. My parents sent me here,
Hmm.
and they believed it was going to be a great fit for me, and give me a better life and all that stuff. And I almost dropped out twice, and all that. But once I understood the vision, that, like, they wanted me to have a citizenship here to
Yeah,
set my kids up to have a better life, and they were set up to have a good life, but they set their kids up to have a better life. They just wanted it to get better generation by generation, right?
yeah,
And once I accepted, like, okay, I'm gonna have to make some sacrifices to make this happen. I mean, it took me 12 years to get here. I missed 10 birthdays with my mom, 10 birthdays with my dad,
yeah,
10 birthdays with my sisters, right? Or my sister, and then 10 with my, like, I think probably 7 with my brother, right? I'm missing.
yeah,
Very important. I'm going, okay, this is the sacrifice that has to be made so that I can catch the next 40,
yeah,
and I can catch the next 50, right? And we don't die young out of stress, right? Like,
exactly.
but once I accepted that, it was like, okay, what's the plan? Right? Same thing here. It's like, I don't want to work till I'm 65. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Right? I'm not going to work till I'm 35. I'm like, when I say work, I mean corporate. It's not going to happen. I'm 27 right now. I'm not doing it. Okay, I'm already tired.
yeah,
Right? So once I accepted, like, okay, I wasn't built for the workforce. Right? I
exactly.
was built for something else. Right? That's when I started building all my backup plans. Right? I got a little note on my phone. It's called exit strategy, and I build these little businesses, right?
Yeah,
And when they catch fire, I double down on them. They catch
love
fire,
that.
I double down on them, and if they don't catch fire, which a lot of them haven't, I just shut them down, right? But I've accepted that. Here's my biggest phrase when I coach people: I start a business. Here's the phrase that keeps me going for the first year:
Hmm.
I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong about my offering. I'm
Yeah,
probably wrong about what people want. And because I think I'm probably wrong, I'm open to every bit of feedback. I'm open to every thing that can make this better, because I was
interesting.
probably wrong in the first way. So now when I start to see real momentum, like, we're seeing 300% growth in our company year over year over year over year, right? We're in the third year, 300% growth.
Yeah,
And every year I'm going, hey, we're probably wrong, right? Like, we're probably right for, like, where we are right now, but to get to a million, we're probably wrong in our strategy and our offering and how it works. And so
yeah,
I go back and we rebuild it every year, rebuild it, right? Um, but it's like, I've accepted all of these things, and
interesting.
now you just have the best. I have the best time every day. Like,
I love hearing that. Yeah,
it's like, I'm driving. My wife is like, "Why are you still smiling? Like, we just lost whatever." Like, I know, but that's part of. It's like traffic lights exist. You'll
yeah,
catch a couple reds.
exactly.
Like,
What changed? Nothing
it
changed.
would change. Nothing changed.
Yeah,
Like, this is part of it. All right. So I think now I can kind of go day to day, and I just catch all the miracles. Like, I'm just writing all the miracles I catch. I'm like, this is amazing,
yeah,
right? And now you just have like this outlook on life. I'm barely stressed. It's not because things aren't stressful. I have enough to stress about, but that's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down.
Exactly. Yeah, that'll
Right.
only lead to darker thoughts, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. I really love that mindset, right? Taking it step by step, even in a business sense, staying humble and being like, I'm probably wrong, meaning you're open to feedback, right? Meaning you're open to be challenged,
Yeah.
meaning you're open to figure it out together, right? Because you don't know everything. You're never going to know everything. People are always going to know something that you don't. You just need to be open and need to have that mindset to be able to embrace it and to be better because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I still had a thought when it comes to kind of the job market right now,
Mhm.
also the tech sector, because we had the huge dip when it came to 2020 and the pandemic, right? Layoffs back then. Then it was
Yeah.
a huge boom.
Yeah.
Companies wanted, especially tech talent from everywhere, right? Everyone
Yeah.
was looking at kind of the professional or the experienced professional, lots of X years of experience, right?
Yeah.
People that were just out of school, like struggling to find a job, which is weird. No one focused on that market segment. And right now I'm seeing it go more towards kind of economic crisis and resignation as well. If you are looking to get another job, right, you already have getting your foot in the door, which I think has a lot to do with networking and what's out there for yourself, your personal brand. Then
Yeah.
the rounds that you have to go through, right? And that varies from hard skills to actual technical tests to more soft skills, depends on a company. And then you
Hmm.
have that salary negotiation part, right?
Yeah.
Actually communicating, this is what I want, this is what I need. And the
Hmm.
company pressing down on that as hard as they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I mean,
think, go
yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead. No, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the network, a lot of people underestimate, right? Getting your foot in the
Yeah.
door. And they can do a lot already, right? Coming out of university, get your LinkedIn up and running, connect with people, ask questions. A lot of people are open to sharing their knowledge. I love that everything's online. You can figure out everything. You can connect
Yeah.
with a lot of people. Just doing that will get you your network. And
Yeah.
then it's those other steps, right? When you have your foot in the door, you need to be able to ace whatever interview you have. And I've always seen it as a numbers game. I'm never going to ace
Yeah.
the first one. It's a
Yeah.
numbers game. I
Yeah.
also need to
Exactly.
get better at that. And then you have those difficult conversations towards the end.
Yeah.
When you help people get their next opportunity right, get them to where they need to be or where they want to be, what do you focus on the most?
Um, I think there's the the number one focus would have to be on communicating your value,
Hmm.
because communicating your value transcends all of those steps,
Yeah.
right? Like, so if you think about like meeting someone for the first time, right? Like, how many times have you met someone and you just never want to meet them again, right? They didn't communicate any value that made you go like, I have to keep this relationship,
Yeah.
right? And when you're going into an interview, right? Like, a lot of times the best candidate, in quotes, the best candidate is the one that can communicate why they are the best,
Yeah.
even if they are not the best, right? And oftentimes, it's not the actual best candidate on paper or in terms of skill that gets the job, it's the
Hmm.
best communicator,
Interesting.
right? And so we spend so much time, like, that's why we do mock interviews. We spend so much time helping them communicate. How do you say it?
Yeah.
How you say it is more important than what you're saying, right? Your partner is trying to, you're stomping around the house. You're obviously very upset. Your partner comes and goes, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
You might explode, right? But if they come and say, "Hey, is everything okay?"
Yeah.
Same inquisition,
Exactly.
right? Said differently.
Yeah.
So it's, how do you communicate your story, right? They ask you in the interview, "Tell me about yourself." You go, "Well, I graduated as a bachelor with a bachelor in engineering. I worked as a this, as a that, and very passionate about seeing efficiency come into the workplace. Um, I don't know anything new about you. I read that on your resume walking
Exactly.
here."
I was just reading it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we tell people, like, "Tell me about yourself." Here's my "tell me about yourself." "Hey, my name's Toby," which is actually a short version of my full name, Oluwa Tobiloba. I'm from Nigeria. I spent the first 8 years there, and then we moved to Belgium, Atlanta, Tennessee, back to Nigeria, Hamilton, Ottawa, Toronto, uh, France, back to Ottawa, and I've been to 13 schools in my life, which has essentially set me up for anything customer facing because I've learned how to build rapport very quickly. I'm the first of three siblings, so very responsible. I got to take care of them. And growing up, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. And when I was 17, I went to England, tried out at Stamford Bridge and West Ham, and got into an academy, but it didn't quite work out. So came back, played soccer. Right, and I'm walking them through this like journey,
Yeah.
right? And they're going, okay, first sibling, responsible. Okay, wanted to play professional soccer, got into an academy, competitive.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's the magic. I'm saying one thing, they're picking up their own ideas from it.
Yeah.
And because it's their idea, not yours. So I could come in and say, I'm very competitive, I'm very responsible, I'm very adaptable because I've grown up in all these environments. That's me trying to get my idea into their head.
Yeah. You have to sell it.
I'm telling stories and they're creating their own ideas about me. And now when they go and pitch, because the decision to hire you is hardly made on the call.
Yeah.
It's made in a back room somewhere that you don't have access to.
Those hidden
So by the
discussions.
time exactly, right? So by the time they go into that back room, everything they're saying about me is their idea. Here's why I think he's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And now you get the job offer.
Exactly.
Right? So it's about helping. It's all about communication. It is all about communication. Everyone that has ever bought into my career and helped me was because I communicated something worth helping.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's like where we spend, like even when we started, our whole thing was we want to teach people how to communicate value to employers. And that's why our mission is we want to build the most employable candidates in the world.
Yeah.
Why? Because the most employable candidates always win. Boom, recession, doesn't matter. Most employable candidates are getting hired. It's
Exactly.
that simple. We don't have company partnerships. We have a 90% success rate. How is that possible? Most employable candidates,
Yeah.
right?
It's as simple as that.
Got to be able to communicate your value.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because I've heard communication and I've heard a lot of value attached to it, yet people overlook it, right? It's a
Yes.
weird thing that this thing that is so simple, that is how we communicate, it's what you do on a day to day. That is often so much overlooked. The things that you say, I don't think you ever get feedback on what you're actually saying. People are like,
Yeah.
oh, they brush it off, or they give you advice. They're like, I would do this, but they never
Yeah.
tell you why. Right? Am I
Yeah.
speaking too quickly? Does that make you feel rushed? Am I saying the right things? What are you thinking
Yeah.
right now? Right? That is
Yeah.
the feedback that you need to get better at communicating.
Yeah.
But that is never within your academic journey, within your educational journey. Maybe in
Yeah.
giving presentations. How well can you
Yeah, a
sell
little
this
bit.
thing? A little bit.
Yeah.
But it's never on the forefront, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever honed it, I've ever trained it. Through this podcast would be the only way I would say I've gotten
Yeah.
better at communicating. But man, that is a huge realization there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had one mentor that used to say, anything you want to get good at, anything in the world you want to get good at, study it, practice it, and teach it.
Yeah.
And you will become amazing. Right. So long before I was landing dream jobs and interviews, I was teaching it.
Yeah.
Right. And I was learning, okay, this is how I say it. I mean, I had to say my tell me about yourself so many times while building three skills
Yeah, right.
that by the time I was interviewing, it was like magic. It
It just
was it
rolled
was
out.
butter, so smooth, right? But like over and over and over and over again. So I think that communication piece is like, I remember like 2012, I used to watch this guy Jim Rohn. It was like a 5-hour YouTube video, and I'd watch it like every month. This
Okay.
guy was silk smooth communicator. I
Yeah.
mean, the audience was there, the cadence, when the jokes happened, how the jokes were said, the tone, if you ever go watch Jim Rohn and you come back to this podcast, you will literally see what I'm like. He influenced how I communicate because that was easily the best communicator I may have ever come across. It was so easy to follow,
Yeah.
and I thought it was like amazing because he could get the idea all the way across. It was like in your heart by the time you were leaving,
Yeah.
right? And that was something I then started like practicing. Like I would do these 2 hour talks to my couch when I was in
Really?
France. I would literally just like pretend there was 1,000 people there, and like when do I say the joke, and how much energy do I put now, and when do I get really passionate, and when do I slow it down? And I would go like literally an hour or two,
Yeah.
just like whatever message was on my heart, and I would just go over it and over it. And then I started getting into these like situations where people were like, "Hey, come talk," and it looked amazing. But there was like, I mean, this started in 2012,
Yeah.
right? But now it looks really, really good, right? But that's what will happen with anything you put your mind to, right? And communication is one of those things worth putting your mind to, because if you can get your ideas from your head to people's hearts, you are
You're there.
unstoppable.
Exactly. That's it.
Unstoppable.
Yeah. It is the single thing, the single skill. I completely agree with you. That will make the difference, right?
Yes.
A lot of things will make the difference, sure, but this one shines through in whatever you're doing. It also
Yeah.
translates throughout whatever you're doing, right? Humans are multifaceted. They're always going to do different things. We're always going to have different passions, different hobbies. But the
Yeah.
thing that is out there that is, uh, how do you say that in English? It's always there. I guess I'll stick to that. Is communication, right? That will
Yeah.
be inherent in whatever you do. Until
Yeah.
there's a time where we can communicate not through what we say, but what we think, then we
Yeah.
need to fix that. We need to work on
Yeah.
that. But what we have
Exactly.
right now is communication through words. So make sure that
100%.
it's as smooth as it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Cool,
it.
man. I love the way this conversation flowed. I never actually told you the episode already started recording, but as you can tell, we've been talking for a while. So I
Yeah.
hope you enjoyed it as well.
No, it was amazing. I this is one of the best experiences I've had, because I didn't realize that it started until I looked up and I was like, yeah, we've definitely started recording. Um,
Yeah,
but
sorry
it
about
also
that.
made it like so much easier. No, it makes it so much easier to, because you always like, you come in with like all these preset things,
Yeah,
but this was like a lot more natural. So I really enjoyed this.
awesome. Thank you for saying that. We'll put all Toby's links to his socials in the description below. Check him out. Let him know you came from our podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.